Hello and welcome. We're going to talk about something that's incredibly common, often really painful, but so frequently misunderstood. I'm talking about soft tissue injuries. You might just brush it off and think, it's just a sprain, but the reality can be weeks, even months of pain and serious disruption to your life. So today, we're breaking down your rights here in Scotland when you're dealing with one of these unseen injuries.
Okay, let's just get right to it, because this is the big question, isn't it? It's the one that stops so many people in their tracks. Is my sprained ankle, my whiplash, my aching back really serious enough for all this? Well, you might be surprised to hear that the answer is very often yes, and we're about to explain exactly why.
So before we can even start talking about making a claim, we've got to be crystal clear on what we're actually dealing with. What is a soft tissue injury? Let's, get right under the skin of it.
When we say soft tissues, what are we really talking about? Well, it's pretty much everything in your body that isn't bone. Think about it. It's your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, all the crucial stuff that provides support and, actually allows you to move. They're the functional fabric of your body. And when they get damaged, the impact is very, very real.
Right. You hear these two words thrown around all the time, strain and sprain. But what's actually the difference? It's actually pretty simple. A strain, that's when you damage a muscle or one of those tendons that connect muscle to bone. Think about pulling a hamstring while running. A sprain, on the other hand, is an injury to a ligament, those tough bands that connect your bones together, like when you twist your ankle.
And look at this list. It really shows you just how widespread these injuries can be. We're talking about everything from that classic whiplash you get in a car accident to really debilitating lower back pain or maybe a serious knee injury from a simple slip. These aren't minor things. These are the injuries that can genuinely put you out of action. Okay, so let's get to the real heart of the problem for so many of these claims. If you can't see the injury on a scan, how on earth do you prove it's real? This is the central challenge, right here. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. You break a bone, it shows up on an x-ray. Clear as day. It's objective proof. You can't really argue with it. But a soft tissue injury? It's often completely invisible on a standard x-ray. So your proof has to come from something else, from meticulously documenting your symptoms and getting a thorough clinical examination. And that's exactly why these claims can be a bit more complex.
And this quote really hits the nail on the head. This is what you could be up against. Because there isn't a simple picture of the damage, it gives insurers an opportunity to question your claim. They might say it's not that severe, or that it shouldn't last this long, or even question if it's there at all. This is precisely why getting high-quality, independent medical evidence is absolutely vital to your case.
Okay, so we understand the injury and we understand the challenge of proving it. Now let's look at the legal side of things. How does a claim like this actually work within the Scottish system? As you can see here, these injuries happen in totally everyday situations. Road traffic accidents are a huge one, of course, especially for whiplash, but also accidents at work. Think about manual handling injuries and just simple slips and trips, maybe on an uneven pavement or a wet floor. They're just as common.
Now, the legal test for negligence might sound really complicated, but honestly, it just breaks down into these 3 simple steps. First, did someone owe you a duty of care? Think another driver or your employer. Second, did they breach that duty? Did they fail to keep you safe? And third, the big one, did that specific failure directly cause your injury? That's what your case needs to prove.
All right, this brings us to the question that's probably on everyone's mind. What is a claim actually worth? It's not just a number plucked out of thin air. It's calculated based on some very specific factors.
Basically, you can think of your compensation as being split into 2 different pots. The first one has a legal name, solitarium, and that's for the pain and suffering itself, the real-life impact on your hobbies and your day-to-day. The second pot, special damages, is much more straightforward. It's about reimbursing you for every single penny you're out of pocket. We're talking lost wages from time off work, prescription costs, even travel expenses to get to physio. It's all about making you financially whole again.
So, how do they figure out that pain and suffering part? Well, courts and lawyers refer to official guidelines to create a consistent framework. As you can see here, it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all deal. A minor neck injury that gets better in a few months, that's going to be in a lower compensation bracket. But a back injury that just won't go away or a really severe ankle sprain that leaves you with long-term instability, well, that naturally falls into a much higher bracket. It all comes down to the severity of the injury and how long it affects you. All right, we have covered a lot of ground. We've talked about what the injury is, how it's proven, and how it's valued.
So let's finish up with a clear plan for what you should actually do next.
Oh, this is a huge one. So many people worry that because they already had, say, a bad back before their accident, they can't possibly make a claim. Let's clear that up right now.
The law has this fascinating principle for exactly this situation, often called the thin skull rule. And the idea is simple. You have to take your victim as you find them. The person at fault is responsible for the actual harm they caused, even if you happen to be a bit more vulnerable or susceptible to injury than the next person. Your pre-existing condition doesn't just give them a free pass.
So, here it is, your action plan. These are the crucial takeaways. First, get specialist legal advice and do it promptly. Second, make sure you get thorough medical evidence. Third, keep a record of absolutely everything, your pain levels, your expenses, the lot. And most importantly, do not let anyone, including yourself, underestimate what you're going through. Your rights are not trivial.
So let's end on this thought. If there's one message to take away from all of this, it's that your soft tissue injury is not trivial. The pain you feel is real, the impact it has on your life is real, and your right to compensation is absolutely real. So the only question left is, what's your next move?